She had been bleeding for 12 years. 12 years of waking up to stained sheets. 12 years of weakness that never ended. 12 years of being legally unclean, untouchable, invisible. And today, she was about to do something that could get her killed. The crowd pressed through the narrow streets of Capernaum, following the miracle worker everyone was talking about. Jesus, the healer, the one who made the impossible possible. She had heard the stories. Blind men seeing, paralyzed people walking, demons fleeing at his command. But she couldn't approach him openly. Not her. Not someone like her. But there was something no one knew yet. Her name had been erased. Not literally, but practically. 12 years ago, she had been someone, a daughter, perhaps a wife, a member of the community. Then, the bleeding started. And according to the law of Moses, bleeding made a woman unclean. Not just for the normal 7 days, but for as long as the bleeding continued. 12 years of being unclean meant 12 years of being dead to society, while still breathing. She couldn't enter the synagogue, couldn't touch anyone, couldn't cook for her family, couldn't sit where others sat. Everything she touched became contaminated. Everyone she touched had to go through purification rituals. So people stopped touching her, stopped coming near her, stopped seeing her. The doctors had taken everything, every coin she had saved, every piece of jewelry she owned, every desperate hope she could afford. They had tried everything: herbs, potions, bloodletting, prayers, rituals. Some treatments made her worse. Some simply did nothing. All of them took her money and left her poorer, weaker, more hopeless. And this is exactly where everything changed. This morning, she had heard he was coming to Capernaum. Jesus, the healer who didn't charge money, who touched lepers. A wild thought had seized her, desperate, dangerous, impossible. What if she could just touch him? Not even him, really. Just his clothes, just the edge of his garment. Surely that would be enough. If he had power to heal, maybe that power extended to his clothes. Maybe she wouldn't have to speak, wouldn't have to explain, wouldn't have to reveal herself. She wrapped her cloak tighter, pulling the hood low over her face. She had to be careful. If anyone recognized her as unclean and she was caught in a crowd, deliberately touching people, contaminating everyone, the punishment could be stoning. But what did she have to lose? This wasn't life. This was just slow death with a heartbeat. The crowd was thick, bodies pressed together, everyone straining to see Jesus. Perfect. In the chaos, no one would notice one more desperate person pushing through. She could feel her weakness. 12 years of blood loss had left her frail, dizzy, constantly exhausted. But adrenaline drove her forward. She spotted him. Jesus, moving through the crowd with his disciples. A man named Jairus, a synagogue leader, was pulling him urgently toward his home. His daughter was dying. The crowd followed, curious, excited, pressing in from all sides. This was her moment. In this chaos, she could reach him. She pushed forward, lowering herself, making herself small. People jostled her. Someone's elbow hit her ribs. She didn't care. She was close now, so close. Her hand stretched out, trembling, weak, desperate. If I just touch his clothes, she thought, I will be healed. Her fingers brushed the fabric. You haven't seen the biggest surprise yet. Power. Immediate, overwhelming, undeniable power surged through her body. It wasn't gradual, it wasn't gentle, it was instantaneous and complete. The hemorrhaging stopped, just stopped, as if a wound had been sealed, a curse lifted. She gasped, her legs nearly gave out. 12 years of weakness evaporated in a heartbeat. She could feel strength returning to her muscles, color to her face, life to her body. She was healed, actually healed. Not improved, not managed, healed. She started to slip back into the crowd, to disappear before anyone noticed, to take her miracle and vanish into anonymity where she had lived for 12 years. Then, Jesus stopped walking. The entire procession halted. Jairus looked confused, anxious. His daughter was dying. Why were they stopping? The disciples bumped into each other. The crowd pressed closer. But what was truly shocking came next. "Who touched me?" Jesus' voice cut through the noise. The woman's heart stopped. He knew. Somehow he knew. Peter, always quick to speak, said what everyone was thinking. "Master, the people are crowding and pressing against you." His tone suggested the question was absurd. Dozens of people were touching him. Hundreds, maybe. How could he ask who touched him? But Jesus' eyes scanned the crowd with intensity. "Someone touched me. I know that power has gone out from me." The woman realized she couldn't hide. He wasn't going to move forward until someone confessed. And if she didn't come forward, someone else might be blamed. She had contaminated him. In the eyes of the law, she had made him unclean. The religious leaders in the crowd could use this against him. She had to confess. What you've seen so far is nothing compared to this. Trembling, she pushed through the crowd again. But this time, she wasn't invisible. Every eye followed her as she fell at Jesus' feet. Fell at the feet of the man she had contaminated. The man whose clothes she had touched while unclean. The man who had every right to condemn her. "I touched you." Her voice broke. Tears streamed down her face. "I've been bleeding for 12 years. Spent everything on doctors. No one could heal me. I just thought if I could touch your clothes." "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I contaminated you. I shouldn't have been in the crowd. I shouldn't have touched you. But I'm healed. The moment I touched you, I was healed." The confession poured out of her. 12 years of silence, 12 years of shame, 12 years of being less than human. It all came spilling out in front of hundreds of witnesses. She had exposed herself completely. Everyone now knew who she was, what she had suffered, what she had done. The crowd waited. Would Jesus rebuke her? Would the religious leaders demand punishment? Would someone pick up a stone? And then Jesus did something no one expected. "Daughter." The word fell like rain on parched ground. Daughter. Not woman, not unclean one, not contaminated person. Daughter. It was a term of affection, of belonging, of family. In that one word, Jesus gave her back her identity, her dignity, her humanity. "Daughter, your faith has healed you." "Not my power," he was saying, "your faith. You reached out believing, and that faith connected you to healing. You weren't a thief stealing a miracle. You were a daughter claiming your inheritance. Go in peace." Peace. 12 years of turmoil, 12 years of suffering, 12 years of isolation. Go in peace. Leave all that behind. It's over. You're free. And be freed from your suffering. As if the physical healing wasn't enough, He was releasing her from the psychological weight, the social stigma, the emotional trauma. Be freed from all of it. The bleeding, yes, but also the shame, the isolation, the identity as the unclean woman. Be freed from your suffering, all of it, every dimension of it. You won't believe what happened next. The crowd erupted, some in joy, some in amazement, some in theological confusion. She had contaminated him by touching him while unclean, but he wasn't angry. She had interrupted his urgent journey to save a dying girl, but he had stopped to acknowledge her. She had stolen a healing by touching his clothes, but he called it faith. Everything about this violated their religious understanding. Unclean people should be avoided, not called daughter. Rule breakers should be punished, not praised. Desperate acts of touching should be condemned, not celebrated. But Jesus had rewritten the rules. He had declared that faith mattered more than ritual purity, that a suffering woman mattered as much as a synagogue leader's daughter, that healing was meant to be received, not earned, that touching him didn't contaminate him. His power contaminated sickness, driving it out, making the unclean clean. The woman stood. For the first time in 12 years, she stood in a crowd without shame, without hiding, without fear of contaminating everyone around her. She stood as a person, a daughter, someone who belonged. And the lesson in that moment changed everything for everyone watching. Jairus, the synagogue leader, had been anxious about the delay. His daughter was dying. Every second mattered. But watching Jesus stop for this woman, this unclean, poor, invisible woman, he understood something profound. Jesus didn't prioritize based on social status. The desperate touch of an outcast mattered as much as the urgent plea of a religious leader. The disciples who had thought the question, "Who touched me?" was ridiculous in a crowd, learned that Jesus knew the difference between casual contact and desperate faith. That he felt every touch, noticed every need, saw every person, even the ones trying to stay invisible. The religious leaders, who were already looking for reasons to condemn Jesus, saw him break purity laws and then refused to condemn the woman who broke them. He was dangerous to their system. He was redefining what it meant to be clean, to be faithful, to be loved by God. And the woman herself learned that faith doesn't have to be loud or public or perfect. It can be desperate and hidden and trembling. It can be reaching out in a crowd, touching the edge of a garment, believing that somehow this will be enough. And sometimes, that kind of faith is exactly what moves the heart of God. The crowd parted as Jesus continued toward Jairus' house, but everything had changed. The woman stood there, surrounded by people who now saw her, really saw her, for the first time in 12 years. Some approached tentatively, amazed. "Is it true? You're healed?" She nodded, tears still streaming. "He called me daughter," she whispered. "After 12 years of being no one, he called me daughter." News of her healing spread faster than Jesus could walk. By evening, everyone in Capernaum knew the story. The woman who had been invisible for 12 years became the most talked about person in town. Not as a cautionary tale, not as an example of uncleanness, but as proof that Jesus saw the invisible, touched the untouchable, healed the unhealable. She would never forget the feeling of that moment, the surge of power, the stopping of the hemorrhage, the word daughter spoken over her. She would never forget that 12 years of suffering had ended with one desperate touch and one compassionate response. And she would spend the rest of her life telling anyone who would listen. Sometimes all you need is enough faith to reach out and touch the edge of his garment.